Ew! Smells like it's time for another Shy Life podcast.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Good luck, studio.
Oh, it's the Shy Life podcast.
Oh, there's gonna be some drama ahead.
All I wanted was a pie, and then I hatched out of an egg.
Okay, bring the mic over. He's ready to record.
Hello. It's the quiet ones you've got to watch, you know.
Is it metaphorical? Is it deep? Is it deep?
Good boy. He said all that Shy is right.
Blimey, Governor. It's the Shy Life podcast.
Hello, Paul.
Excellent.
622. Bonjour et bienvenue au podcast for Shy Life.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Shy Life podcast with me, Paul the Shy Yeti. How are you doing? I'm alright. So what's this episode going to be about? Well, we're out and about today. I have a hospital appointment. I'm going to take you with me. But also, well, we're going to turn it into a bit of a day trip. It's not the most lovely and sunny day out there. But, it seems a shame when I pay the money to go to the hospital just to go there and do nothing else. So, yeah, I've got a little bus trip planned and a train trip and maybe a shopping trip. And, well, we'll see how it goes. I'll see how my energy lasts. Okay, so let's run the theme music, and when I come back, well, I'll tell you a little bit more. Okay, run that theme music.
Darling, it's the Shy Life podcast.
Yeah, but it's a positive thing, Paul. The High Life, the Shy Life.
You won't find a cast of characters like this everywhere.
I'll go anywhere for a potato.
Delicious.
Hello, campers. How are you?
You quite like a big bang, don't you?
Go Shy Yeti.
Oh, I hope he hasn't found out my secret. If he has.
I love the Yeti'S. It's my favorite thing.
If you thought that was bad, just listen to this.
Yeah, I'm strangely drawn to Yeti Uncle John's ankles as well.
But has the Shy Life podcast slowed down? I don't think so.
Has anyone seen my hot sausage?
It's all gooey and meaty and yum, 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 yum.
Oh, I can't wait for it to begin.
It's the Shy Life podcast.
I like that, yeah.
Marvellous, Paul.
Hi there.
So, yes, it's currently 7:03 a.m. on Tuesday the 7th of March, 2023, and I've just booked my train ticket. My train goes in about 45 minutes or so, and I've got to go to Wimbledon, but I've also got to change at Surbiton because the train doesn't stop at Wimbledon at this time of day. It was always a pain back when I used to go into work, but these are the sorts of trains or the sorts of times of trains that I used to use when I used to go to work. So to get to Wimbledon I have to change at Surbiton. Then I have to go and get a bus to the hospital, St George's, and the hospital appointment is only about my CPAP for my sleep apnea. I don't know, they haven't seen it since before the pandemic. The appointment's at 10 o'clock, and then I should be free for the rest of the day. So after that, I'm thinking of catching a bus from the hospital to Richmond. That's sort of like one end of the bus route to the other. But I'm not going to do a lot when I get to Richmond, but I want to go to Whole Foods and see if there's any treats there. And then we'll probably get the train back, which also means changing at Staines and Weybridge. But they should be quite easy changes. So anyway, I need to go and get ready. So I'll probably see you when I get to the train. We'll probably have clips and things I pre-recorded throughout this episode as well. So let's see how it goes. Okay, I'll speak to you again in a minute. Hi listeners, I'm on the train. Just like the old days again. Just left my station and coming up to Weybridge, where I'll probably be changing on the way home later on this afternoon. But I'm staying on.
The next station is Weybridge. Change here for Addleston, Chelsea, Virginia Water, Egham and Staines. Please mind the gap between the train and the platform edge.
I will do that. I'm going on to Surbiton, and that's where I change to get the train to Wimbledon. So I'll listen to some music until I have to do that, and I'll speak to you again in a moment. Okay. Hey listeners, I'm at Surbiton Station. If you see on the news that the trains are half empty, they're not half empty. If you see on the news that the trains are half empty, they certainly aren't during the rush hour. That train was packed to the gills, and as I got off in Surbiton, there was standing room only. It was just like it was pre-pandemic, so don't worry too much about those poor train companies who apparently aren't making enough money because there's nobody riding the trains. The trains are packed. Maybe they're not at certain other times, but they certainly are from the rush hour on the route from my house. Anyway, so now I have to try and get on a train from Surbiton to Wimbledon, which is only, well, one big stop, or there are some smaller stops that it might stop at, but hopefully I can get on. But we shall see. Yeah, you wouldn't think that 10 o'clock was a particularly early appointment, but it is when you have to negotiate the rush hour, and also the trains don't stop at Wimbledon from my stop directly until after about 10, so I'll have to remember next time I have an appointment to ask for it to be a bit later. But, anyway, I shall wait for my train. It's not the next one, it's the one after, I think. Okie dokie.
This is Surbiton. This train is for London Waterloo. The next station is Ferryland.
I'm on Wimbledon Station now. Of course, my train. Of course, the train left me the furthest point from the lifts to get out of the station. So I'm just having a rest before I start doing that. The train wasn't as busy. I couldn't really speak on the train though, because it was busy enough that. It was busy enough that it would have been awkward to get the phone out and stuff. Anyway, it's 8:44. I've got an hour and 15 minutes before my appointment. That doesn't sound good. The underground is actually starts at Wimbledon as well, or the district line. Sometimes when I used to have to go from one end of the district line to another, when I went to see my ex Kirk, it's quite a long journey, but you can get on at Wimbledon and just sit all the way around. Well, sometimes you had to change, but anyway. So I've got to go and get the bus now, so I'll go and do that. Maybe I'll speak to you on the bus. I don't know. It depends how busy that is. So we shall see. Okay, right. Let's let me go and do the next part of the journey. Actually, it might be a good time for you to listen to something now. We've got plenty of things recorded, especially for episodes, so chats and all sorts. So let's see. I think I quite fancy some Would You Ever chats this episode. I've got at least 2 of those recorded already for you, so let's see how it goes. Have a listen and then join me again in a little while. Okay, more later. Hello, you're back.
Hello. Yes, indeed. Okay. Indeed. The oven is on. Read into that what you will. Yes.
Well, you'll be the more exciting end of this call then when we finish. I've had my dinner, but anyway, I was going to ask you some would you rather questions.
Sure.
Because I think there must be other things going on elsewhere, and we've been called in to fill a gap. I've called myself in and you to fill in a gap with something else going on. So, so you've done these before. We did these when we were stuck in the theatre that time.
Indeed.
On my rather ill-fated birthday last year, but so. Talking about cooking, the first question I've got is, would you rather be a good cook or be well organised? I don't come up with these questions. Some of these questions I'm thinking, oh, does that mean to be a good cook you have to be disorganised? But I mean, I don't quite see how the things are related. But let's answer the question, would you rather be a good cook or be well organised?
Good cook, that's easy. I don't tend to sort of look at recipes. I tend to just throw things in. I tend to sort of know sort of what I'm going for and stuff. So if it's like a cheese sauce, for example, or if I'm doing something involving vegetables and the seasoning and stuff, I'm not going to start looking up, oh, this needs certain spices, this, that, and the other. It is kind of like trial and error. And dare I say it, that it comes from my mother-in-law in France, actually. Although my mother-in-law has recipes and things, I would say what I do is I kind of memorize to a certain degree my mother-in-law's recipes. So recently I did a cassoulet, which is basically a sausage and bean stew. And like a cassoulet is one of those things that there's not like one definitive version of it. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a sausage and bean stew, and it's like, are you going to use chicken stock? Are you going to use vegetable stock? Are you going to sort of put pork rind in, or are you going to sort of put bacon fat in, and this, that, and the other and stuff? And quite often it'll be like, well, what's in the fridge, you know? And even I'll say this quietly in case my mother-in-law is listening. I've done a cassoulet with baked beans, although I've drained the sickly tomato sauce out of the baked beans and just use more of the baked beans. So, yeah, I'd rather be a good cook, and I think that's definitely the way to my wife's heart. Is that sort of she likes me being a good cook with working long hours and stuff. So there we go.
I'm not sure I'm a good cook, and I'm definitely not that well organised. So I'm not sure to be either one of those would be an improvement. So anyway, okay. The next one is: would you rather give up social media or Netflix? I'm not even sure if you have Netflix, and I know you don't do a lot of social media.
Well, that's an interesting. I've given up Netflix, and I really pared back on social media as well. I gave up on Facebook a number of years ago because I had that situation where you basically bump into somebody, be it at work or a social event. They say, "Oh, can I friend you on Facebook?" And as you know, people eyes, "Oh yeah, of course, yeah." And then you look at their feed, you think, "You're an idiot. Why am I looking at this?" I mean, I'm not complete sort of kick the habit because I look at my wife's Facebook feed, but I see some of the people that she's quote unquote friends with, and I go, "Oh my God, it's just like we're surrounded by idiots." So in that respect, sort of, yeah, I've already got rid of Netflix. An interesting one actually today was. Well, there's been two actually, but I'll talk about the one today. Is that there was a friend of mine that posted something which is one of my bugbears, which happens a bit on my stream, not too much, is when sort of people park on the curb and people with wheelchairs or prams or what have you can't get by. And I was like, yeah, too right. It's like, and then this, I'll try and turn my language down. This idiot basically sort of chips onto this Twitter conversation and said, yes, Deals. This idiot came on and said, "Oh, you know what? You should grow a pair and put your big boy pants on and just get over it." And it just made me really, really angry. And then I had a look on his Twitter profile, and Kel Surprise, all he does on his Twitter profile is complain about things. And I was so tempted to say, "Do you know what? You should grow a pair and put your big boy pants on and get over it." And I stopped because I thought if I do that, I can do that kind of like, "Oh, look at me, I'm being sort of, clever and sort of arch and like sort of, bassing it back to them." But I thought, no, don't, because like you'll just get into this whole world of like sort of sewage, and like I stopped myself. So in terms of social media and as well, like I tend not to sort of do too much. I also, my social media tend to be apolitical. Obviously, I have political views, and I have certain views on something. But it's that classic thing: if you post on social media and you say one thing, you know for a fact loads of people are just going to jump on you and just like sort of completely sort of like tear you to pieces. So my answer in a convoluted way is like I've already got rid of Netflix. And I've pared down my social media. I tend to sort of do the thing with social media. I tend to make it more positive. So like it tends to be more things like here's a picture of Monroe. He's a nice cat. Or like this morning we went to see some greyhounds, or like, oh, went out and did a park run and stuff. Or like, as you know, like I go to the lakes a lot, and it's like I'm in the lakes, and it's more just like sort of trying to sort of do more positive things, because it can just get so toxic, social media. And like I know from other friends, I mean, Doctor Who is the classic example, isn't it? Like that, like something happens in Doctor Who, especially New Who, and people are like, "Oh my God, that's terrible." No. It's like, and I'm like, it is what it is, and I'm not going to get into this conversation, Yeah,
it's so difficult, and I think if it wasn't that question, I've definitely discussed this with Nick, and I've said the thing is everyone's got different in their heads what different things mean. It's like, well, at least I think they have. Like if somebody you're having a long conversation with somebody and they suddenly decide to end the conversation. I mean, I was trying to end like say, "Well, I've got to go now," or some people just put like a thumb. and I think that can be quite passive aggressive, but that's just my interpretation. And Nick was like, "Oh, I would never interpret it like that." And I'm not saying, well, I'm not saying that you do that to me, but that's just my interpretation. But everyone's going to have a different interpretation, so it's an absolute minefield. I do the upside down smiley as a sort of, oh, I'm being silly, but I don't know if anybody knows that's. I don't know. I don't think anyone knows what that is for, but I just presume it means you're being silly. But it's a language that everyone's got different interpretations of, and it's a potential minefield, or not. Some other people don't think it is, but I think if other people do, and nobody says anything, it's oh dear. But we've cancelled Netflix as well at the moment, so. But I have alternatives, and I have thousands of DVDs, so it's not really been missed. Okay, let's try another one. Would you rather spend a day switching radio stations and hearing the same song, or switching TV stations and seeing the same show?
Interesting one. I'd probably say, dare I say it, switching TV stations. Radio I find very difficult these days. And what's interesting, actually, is with the whole Ken Bruce leaving Radio 2 thing, I'd say, because I departed Radio 1 probably at the end of the 90s. I mean, I used to listen to it a lot, but then for whatever reasons, I did switch to Hello Deals. I did switch to Radio 2, and back in the day, it was the sort of classic Radio 2 of Terry Wogan, but you had like things like The Organist Entertains and all these other sort of like very sort of specific programs. And like there was a brass band program and this, that, and the other. And this was probably going back to when I was still commuting from my first home in Royston to London. So like there'd be many times if I went out for drinks with people from work on a Friday, I'd get back to King's Cross at 9 in the evening. And I'd sort of put Radio 2 on with my sort of whatever it was meal that I'd picked up in King's Cross. With TV, though, so that was basically me saying I've kind of given up on Radio 2 and Ken Bruce. But with TV a lot of the time is just a background thing. So TV for me, it could be sometimes I'm working from home, I'll have something on in the background and things repeat themselves. Or if I'm doing some music or this, that, and the other. But I think sort of from a practical point of view, if I'm in the car listening to the radio, it annoys me more if like stuff keeps getting repeated more and more and more. So that's why, dare I say it, I listen to podcasts and things because like it's new, original content and people should support their local podcasters and do all they can do to support them, yeah.
Also, it's not that clear in that question because it says hearing the same song, that's clear. But seeing the same show, doesn't specify. That could be the same. I would take that to mean it's showing the Avengers. That's the show. That's not the episode. It should have said, if it wants it to be comparable, it should have said the same episode of the show. So we may have stumbled upon, that might be the better option because we might get loads of episodes, although we might get a show.
That hones it down a bit actually, because it could be ITV4 or Talking Pictures that's doing an old episode of The Saint or The Champions or The Avengers and stuff.
Yeah, whereas the same song is the same song, and that's can't get out
interestingly, I did listen to Greatest Hits Radio today, and they put Bohemian Rhapsody on, and I literally just muted it because like, oh my god, no, it's just like that's such a sort of obvious thing to put on radio, and I can't be bothered to listen to it. So yeah, I'd probably more like to listen to more or watch more things on TV. I'd say
This is a weird one, but hopefully not a yes or no or whatever. Would you rather have other people think you smell like bacon, or have every person you meet smell like bacon to you?
Well, it's funny you should mention that. I love bacon. Bacon is my standby in terms of, I mean, it goes back to what I was talking about cooking earlier. In fact, this morning I constructed the most majestic of BLTs. We had some ciabatta bread, which I toasted lightly, had some mayonnaise. I actually had sauced some tomatoes and stuff. And we had this lovely BLT to start the day. And bacon for me is just like sort of, it's a no-brainer. So, like, much as I respect my friends who are vegetarian or vegan, but yeah, bacon is, such a good vibe, shall we say.
The only trouble is you might decide to become a cannibal if everyone turned up at your door smelling like bacon.
Well, the way things are going with the cost of living, I wouldn't rule that out. So yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Hi. I'm not at the bus stop, but I'm outside around the corner from the bus stop. I've got out of the station, up the lift, and out through the barriers, topped up my Oyster card, and now I've just got to go around the corner for the bus. It's nearly 9 o'clock now, so I've still got an hour. Hopefully the bus won't take more than half an hour. Anyway, I'm not supposed to go into the hospital too early anyway. I hope they haven't changed the location of the actual place I've got to go to, because I'm sort of just going to go on autopilot to, where I know I usually go for that particular appointment. But anyway, we'll see. Okay, I've had a little rest, so I'll go and get the bus now. More in a bit. Oh, I hope you enjoyed the clip, whatever I put. Yeah, good, wasn't it? Oh dear, oh dear. Somebody's in a bad mood. Like, more in a minute.
Okay, cool. It looks like we're finally out of that mask.
Okay.
So this is the mask that I'm going to switch you on to.
Yeah.
Let's try it on now before I send you away with it. Just so we know that we're happy with the mask. And this is the type of mask we do give to people with beards, because again, with that extra strapping, it keeps it a bit more in place. So it's very, very similar. If anything, probably a little bit better. They're bulky.
Hi listeners. Golly, that was a bit of a palaver, to say the least. It's, I don't know, 11 o'clock or something. That was a bit of a trauma situation. Getting to the hospital. After I spoke to you at Wimbledon Station, I went for the bus. I must have just missed one because it was another, 25 minutes before the next bus came. And although it said bus is due in 10 minutes, what it means is that the bus is 10 minutes away. So if something slows it down, it's still 10 minutes away. It can be 10 minutes away for an extra 5 minutes. So probably waited at that bus stop for half an hour. It didn't leave the bus stop until 25 to 10. So suddenly I had 25 minutes. And the traffic was very slow, and then it had to stop for 5 minutes to change drivers. And then there was some problem where it wasn't stopping at Tooting Broadway, although it said that it was going to drop us off at the hospital itself. So I thought, well, that may save a few minutes, except when it got to the hospital, it dropped me off in an entrance I've never been to before, so I had no idea where I was compared to where I needed to be. So it also didn't say main entrance, it said St George's University Hospital or something like that, and it was also where the students went and had lectures. So I sort of slowly walked in that direction, hoping it would lead me. Luckily, I finally started to see directions to St James's wing, or whatever it's called, and I got there to the reception. I was only about 5 minutes late, but I was out of breath. I was like, I couldn't even muster up a proper excuse because I could barely get the words out. And he said, "Oh, it's fine." And so I sat down, filled in the little questionnaire that you have to fill in. The guy came out, gave me some new equipment for my CPAP. It was very nice. Not seen that guy before, and I won't have to come back for another year or so. Although I'll be back at this hospital probably in August because I've got to have another appointment for something else. But anyway, so yeah, I came out of the clinic. And of course the other not so great thing is that every single toilet in the hospital that I passed seemed to be closed for refurbishment, and there were signs saying alternate toilets at this site, and I'd already passed those and they were closed as well, so it's a good thing I'm not desperate. Sorry, you didn't need to know this, but it paints a rather horrible picture of rather traumatic few hours. Well, I just don't like being late for appointments, particularly when I've left nice and early and then other things get in the way. But anyway, at least the appointment happened. I didn't get here and they say, sorry, you're too late. Then on the way out, I nipped into Marks and Spencer's and I got some sandwiches and a sausage roll and actually some interesting cereal because it was there, and I forgot to get sweeties, but I probably shouldn't have sweeties anyway. I haven't really decided what I'm doing as far as whether I'm going back to Wimbledon or whether I'm going all the way to Richmond yet, so we'll see how often the buses are, how well the buses are running before I make that decision. So just had a sandwich. I'm pretty much ready to go and look for the bus. I'm very close to the bus stop, but I don't know. The seats at the bus stop are always really uncomfortable. They're either metal or they're more perches than seats, but oh well, I'll go and have a look and then make a decision once I'm on the bus. All right, stay updated. I'm not sure. I may put something else on soon, maybe some music, or well, we'll see. Okay, more in a bit. I've been telling Nick about. I've done some recording today for this episode, but I've done all of the ick stuff where Nick. I'm going to do a couple of scenes with Nick after we finish, just to make it sound like he was there. But I did, because I'm linking this up with the fact that Ick's contract's running out, and I'll be taking advantage of him dropping, using him as a taxi service, an unpaid taxi service. And is he perhaps looking to get a contract with the Smellcast or a contract with another American podcaster? Or so I've done all of that stuff. So all we really need to do is us coming to dinner with you and Aunt Tappy, and if she could serve us up some interesting American delights.
Okay.
And I've also got a few. I've got a few things that we're going to at the end. We're going to kind of. Oh, we brought you some presents as well, and I've got a list of. I hope they're all going to be things that you don't know, because they say they're UK sort of. So we're going to bring you some delights as well. So, but all we really need is you, me, Nick, and Aunt Tappy. So.
All right.
And we can just. And at the moment, Ick is creeping around somewhere, doing whatever Ick's doing, so we don't even have to encounter him. So, and that way, we don't need to worry about talking over voices or anything like that.
All right.
Ick's been on before. He's been pre-recorded.
I pre-recorded Ick. Yes. Although I still want to. To do a couple of little scenes with you just to make it sound like you were on the ship. So shall we just start with where we've kind of arrived?
And we're at Aunt Tappy's.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
In the great continuity of things, is this the first time I've been to Aunt Tappy? I think it is.
I think it might be the first time you've been to Pickle Hollow as well.
Yeah.
I think I did mention that in the bit I recorded.
Is this where you reside, or just your aunt?
No, it's where the Spellcast, and so everybody is. Yeah, everyone Spellcast wise is in Pickle Hollow.
Yeah.
It's. I call it the heart of the Finger Lakes region because I imagine it being exactly where Ithaca, New York is located, which is at the very end of Cayuga Lake, one of the Finger Lakes. And it kind of is right in the center of the state. And I refer to it as like 5 square miles of weirdness surrounded by reality.
I was thinking you've got a lot more space for like having a new building pop up, or if you wanted a new location. Whereas, I mean, I can do, but I've definitely got a picture of the area that covers between my flat and where Ick has his spaceship, and then Yeti Uncle John's Magpie Hut is in between. It is an actual area, but you can't actually do the walk that I describe in because there's a fence, and also there is a hut. I've seen the hut from. I'm not sure if anyone used it, but there is a hut. You can see when you get on the train. You can see there's a hut down. I don't know what it was used for, but I imagine that's the. I think if Uncle John's Magpie Hut is slightly better shape than the one that I can see, but there are definitely some locations I have on my shows that I imagine to be real. Aside from the ones that are semi-real, like my parents.
Your parents are semi-real?
Well, that's debatable. But,
All right. How about if we continue the conceit that you use a jetpack to go up instead of using the stairs? There's only one jetpack, so you have to go up. One of you has to go up first, and then lower the jetpack down, and so that the other person can use it. So I'll have Aunt Tappy refer to that.
Yes, because Aunt Tappy's flat is up a quite steep staircase.
Yeah, it's a carriage house apartment, we call them.
She always last time I went, she got a jetpack for me, so I didn't have to do the stairs. But I went too high. I went too high up. Really end up in space. But okie dokie. Yes. how should we start?
You guys have just come in and taken your coats off.
Yeah.
And Aunt Happy would be prattling.
Yeah.
Here we go. Let me get. Hello. Oh, I've got to find her voice sometimes. Oh, I think I've got it.
That's great. Thank you. I think that's. We can keep on.
That's a wrap.
We can keep talking.
That's a wrap, guys.
I thought I'd do some of the Ick bits earlier, so I didn't need to do too much with Ick. But it's nice to be back into doing normal length episodes, having had so many special episodes.
Yeah.
I was telling Nick about recording for the Smellcast in bed at 1:30 in the morning.
I swear, Nick, I instant messaged him, and I think I got the lines back in 3 minutes.
I sat in bed with my woolly hat on.
Is it that cold up there?
Can be in that bedroom. But Toby has tried to reinsulate it, but I've got 2 external walls. So,
yeah.
I also, because it's just a single bed, I end up often lose the duvets.
Yeah.
If I'm not careful, because there's only one way for the duvet to go, which is falling on the floor or staying on there.
Yeah, duvets can fall on the floor.
Yeah.
I've got two, and I'm lucky if one. Usually I get left with one, but I have 2 duvets just in case one escapes. I went to a hospital yesterday to have my hands an ultrasound on my hand, and it was, they managed to find me an appointment at the closer hospital. I didn't even realise there was a hospital in that town, but it's a lot closer and easier to get to than the other hospitals I've been going to.
Mm-hmm.
And but so it was sort of on my way to coming back home. But unfortunately, it was annoying because I had nothing else planned in the day. But my appointment was nearly 5 o'clock, so I had to hang around. I would have left earlier, but I went there, and it was really weird. It looked like a ghost town. You did see the odd person, but I don't know whether it was because some people were on strike or whether it was just late in the day or whether it's just not as used as much. But I took a few photos to send a friend of mine who works in the hospital and said, "Look, it looks like I'm the only person here." I had my hands ultrasounded so they could see if they could see any sort of like information.
Mm-hmm. Did it reveal anything, or don't you know yet?
Yeah, they sort of said that he could see, because it's not actually that bad at the moment in my hands. But he said it wasn't like degeneration of anything, but he could see where there'd been inflammation. So, so hopefully they can put that all together and work out what's best. But the best thing about it was that the guy doing my ultrasound was super hot, and he was very cute, and he had a nice beard. And so I was kind of like, I could just stay here. I'll just stay here.
Well, there's a fault in the machine. Could you do it all over again?
Well, he wore those scrubs where you can see the chest hair. I was like, oh, thank you. I'm just staying here now.
Yeah. That happened to me once. This was a long time ago, but I was sent to the emergency room, and the doctor that came in was so astonishingly, breathtakingly beautiful. When he started talking to me, I couldn't think of anything that was wrong with me, because all I could. He was that. He was like astonishing.
I'm not sure, to be honest.
That happened to me when we had like a new boiler put in the flat, and this guy and he was telling me how, like, which buttons to press to do certain thing, and we were like in this quite tight corner, because that's where the things. Well, and all I could think of is that he was very, very close to me, and he was very attractive, and I couldn't understand anything he was saying. So when whoever it was, Toby or Callum or whoever came in and said, "Well, how does it work?" I was kind of like, I don't know. I think it's in the book. He didn't tell me. he had told me, but I couldn't concentrate.
So what are you guys up to the rest of the day?
We'll be having something to eat around about 6ish, and we've got watching the Stepford Wives, which I've never seen. Doctor Who: Planet of Evil, and possibly a Blake 7.
Maybe, and then we also got a Woody Allen possibly. But we have to see if we can fit it all in. If we don't, we can do it next time. But Stepford Wives is one of my favourites. I'm keen for us to watch that.
That's a good one.
I like the book as well. The Woody Allen.
I have a feeling I might have seen Radio Days actually.
Yeah, we were going to watch Radio Days. I just can't. I definitely haven't seen it that recently. So, but we may have seen it before. Some of them I've got out of order, or some of them it's difficult.
I've been waiting for you to bring in Sleeper.
I must remember to do that one out.
It's very good to bring that round.
Yeah. I think it was only last time I realised that, but I completely forgot. I need to make a note. I got so many notes on my phone there.
Okay, guys. Nick, it was good to be with you again.
Always a pleasure.
I'm glad we were able to do something similar and yet different. It's nice to get you to feel hollow, Nick.
Oh, it was a very pleasant experience.
You must come again, dear.
Oh, I will, my dear, I will.
Okie dokie. We'll speak to you soon.
Okay. Have a good one.
Take care. Bye for now.
Bye.
Hi listeners, I'm at the bus stop. I've been at the bus stop for about, 20 minutes or something, and there's not been a bus for me yet, and I finally went on the app and there's one in about 18 minutes, so I guess I'll wait for it. I was thinking of getting a taxi or going to Tooting Broadway tube station, but that could potentially mean lots of steps on, because even though you've got escalators, there are bits in all these stations where there seems to be steps. Actually, I don't know how you even get down to some of these stations if you're in a wheelchair, because anyway, so yes, now it's starting to rain as well. Oh, here comes a bus. I don't know what this one is. There was no bus scheduled for. A lot of them are coming through saying out of service. What does this one say? out of service or not in service. Makes me wonder if the not in service ones are ones that are supposed to be going to Richmond. I'll wait for the 1 in 15 minutes and then have to make a decision, I suppose. Don't particularly want to walk to the tube station, although I'm not even sure where you get a taxi from here. There are other buses coming through, but I've been on the app and I can't get the timetable for that, so I don't know if one of the buses goes by, a mainland station that's on my route. I could go there. I think possibilities of going to Richmond are getting less and less, but never mind. I've got plenty of other things to put in this episode if needs be, and I can always have a grumble about it to Cromarty when I get home. But here's another bus. Is that a bus? It's a funny looking bus. No, I think it is a bus. Again, I'm not sure it's scheduled. Maybe it's not in service as well. I think it's not in service. Well, to be fair, the app doesn't say that there's a bus for me for another 10-15 minutes, so I just wonder what all these not in service buses are. Alright, let's wait a little bit longer. I shall update you. Hi listeners, I'm back at Wimbledon. My bus did eventually arrive, but it's just weird. There's so much traffic on the roads and you're stuck in traffic jams, and then you sort of, make a turn and suddenly the road is empty, and it's like, where did all that traffic go to? Did it go off on a different route? And anyway, having been on the bus it's now a little bit past 12:30, and considering my appointment ended at no later than 10:30, the thought of sitting on a bus all the way to Richmond, the roads are so bumpy, my bum really hurts just from being on that bus, and I should think the distance to Richmond is probably 2 or 3 times more, so I have given up and got off at Wimbledon, and I'm just going to go home and moan about it to Cromarty. Now, one of the reasons I wanted to go to Richmond was I wanted to go to Whole Foods. Maybe get a nice coffee. That's not going to happen, but I intend to try and cut my losses and get at least some niceness at Wimbledon station. So I really need to make a move because I've only got about 25 minutes now, so I'm going to see what niceness I can get hold of, and at least have that to take home. And I do have my cereals as well that I got, so it's not all bad. Yes, I think I don't think I actually told you what the cereals were. One's strawberries, dried strawberries on like an oaty thing, and one's a chocolate thing on oaty thing. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm losing the capacity to talk. It's so cold. My fingers are like ice. Try to make this day as nice as possible. When I went to when I went to Ashford Hospital the other day, I managed to work in a trip to Staines and go to HMV and go to McDonald's. And although it wasn't perfect because there were no seats for the last bit of the journey to the railway station. At least the weather was nice, but today it's been very difficult to salvage good things, so I just need to cling to whatever I can find. Okay, right, let's do it. I'll report back on the train. Okay, wish me luck. Wish me luck. Hi listeners, I'm on the train back home now. So how did my little, I don't know, what would you call it, search for treats, how did that go at Wimbledon station? It was a bit mixed. Not a failure, not a complete failure. I went to see if they still sold Cornish pasties, because there used to be a whole business like the Cornish Pasty Society or something. It wasn't called that, but anyway, it used to sell interesting Cornish pasties, not just the basic ones, lots of different flavours, nicely warmed up. And I thought, oh, that'd be nice. It's so cold, it'd be nice to have something warm, and I'm not stopping sort of to go into a restaurant. Keen to go home now after everything that's gone on today. Well, everything that hasn't gone on today, just how slow and everything was. Anyway, they no longer have the Cornish pasta place, but there's a Greg's, which is like a well-known sort of budget price bakery in the UK, and everyone always goes on about their pasties being nice, and so I saw that they had pasties, and so they weren't that expensive, so I got a steak one, and it's like a square rather than a full-size pasty. And I thought, well, I've got something in my bag from Marks and Spencer's, but I'll keep that for my tea. So yeah, I got a steak pasty or a steak square, and I think it's supposed to be cheese and beans and sausages square thing. Now, well, I guess I'll tell you about what it was like when I get to that part of the journey. But I also had seen that there was a nice cake shop that I used to go to when I used to get the train from Vauxhall. A bit expensive, but well, maybe. So I went through the barriers, and when I got through the barriers, I suddenly saw that they changed the configuration of the cafe, and actually now the main area for you to get cakes from that shop was back where I'd come from, the other side of the barrier. I think had I wanted to got a coffee or something, I could still have been served from the side I was now on. That would be doing themselves out of business, but from that side of the counter you couldn't really see the cakes or make any decisions, so I just gave up on it. I just gave up on that and decided I'd get a coffee from Starbucks. Now there's a little Starbucks on the platform on Wimbledon Station, on the platform I was on, and so I got a skinny vanilla latte, and which cost me a mortgage. No, it was pushing £5 by the time which is about the price of a pint. Don't know, are they comparable? I'm not sure. Possibly. You don't get drunk on a coffee, but there we go. You don't get drunk on a pint either. But I'm not sure what coffee they were using today. It was a bit bitter. It wasn't the nicest. It may have been a particular blend. It's hard to know. Sometimes they burn the coffee, and sometimes it's the actual the type of coffee. I don't know. It wasn't their best, but you know, it was all right. Going through Esher on the train past Sandown Park. I think there must be horse racing on today. Not many people in the stalls, but there are some, and there's definitely horses on the track. Been there a fair few times, not for a long time, with Callum. Anyway. So I got my coffee. I was going to get a cinnamon bun, but, well, two. I was going to get one for Toby as well, but they were £3.50 each. Moan. It's just that those boxes of posh cereal I got from Marks and Spencer's were only £3 each. So, no. I had a bit of sweet in my coffee anyway, with the vanilla sauce. And I've got the cereal I can have later. They spelt my name wrong on my cup as well. They spelt it Pol, P-O-L. Never mind. Yeah. So, spelling mistakes. Then my train arrived, and I got on it. I think the ticket lady's coming now. Somebody's not bought a ticket. So I ate my pasties and drank my coffee. The beans and sausage one was stone cold. Perhaps it was meant to be stone cold. Perhaps I was just expecting too much. Expecting it to be warm. The steak pie though, or the steak square, that was lukewarm. That boiled a bit more. That was more like I was expecting. Probably 5 out of 10 for the sausage and bean one, and 6 out of 10 for the steak one, maybe. Yeah. At least they weren't expensive. Anyway, I'm nearly home now. Just leaving Hersham. About 3 stops from home. Toby's actually going to the dentist, so I shall have a bit of a moan to Cromitty when I get in, if he's in. Of course, he might be doing a shift. I didn't even think about that. Anyway. So sorry today hasn't been as I thought it was going to be. It wasn't the adventure I was hoping for, but did my best. Anyway, ticket lady is coming, so I better go. Yes. More soon. Why don't you listen to a clip or something, huh? That'd be cool. Okay. Back in a moment.
you rather be in a room for a year with only one movie to watch or only one book to read? A little bit similar to the other one, but not. I guess it's books versus movies.
Definitely book to read. Book to read, because I think the first thing that springs to mind is that I think it was Christopher Lee that used to read Lord of the Rings every year for so many years. And I think with books, I'm guilty of this, that sometimes you read a book and with the best intentions of the world, you can scan through it and you get sort of the general gist of it, but then you miss bits out, or you can miss, I mean, as we go back to sort of talking about lyrics, so words are king, words are everything, and you can pick up more things. Whereas I would say, if I thought of a film like, for example, With an N and I, which has got great dialogue and stuff, I would get bored of it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think just maybe with your experience of doing your films and my experience of doing plays, by the end of doing the play or doing the film, you're kind of just like fed up with it, and you just like, you just want to sort of forget about it and stuff.
Yeah, and also the one film I do watch every year, or certainly the last few years, is Black Christmas on Christmas Day. But even that is too often, really, for me. I'm usually more of a 3 or 4 years between watching. There's some people I know who perhaps go through all of Doctor Who, like in order every year or so, and I need there to be about 5 years between seeing a Doctor Who story again. Really, I want to have not exactly forgotten it, or I tend to watch the ones that I have almost forgotten that I perhaps haven't watched for 10 years. Say, it's funny. I also find it's funny, and some people say, "Oh, you're always watching Doctor Who," and yet they have perhaps a film or a comedy series that they watch on repeat far more than I ever watch the shows that I like. I think some people don't realise how into stuff they are themselves when they criticise other people for doing exactly what they do, but they kind of don't see it in their head that they do it. If you know what I mean. Well,
now you bring up Doctor Who. Recently, I watched what I call the very average Pat Troughton episodes, which are the Crotons, and guess which the other one is?
Dominators.
Yes. Yeah, those two. And you kind of wish, why can't those be lost and we got the other ones back?
I haven't watched the Dominators in a long time. Crotons, I feel like I have more fondness for because of it being repeated in 80. Was it repeated in 81 or was it 82? I can never remember which ones they repeated for each of the repeat seasons. But anyway, but again, I haven't watched the Crotons for ages.
But with those two, they're what I call the extra average, the super average Pat Troughton things. And like, I'll watch them, but as I say, like, it takes me a while to go back to them. But what I have found is that if I've been watching other things and I find out there's a certain actor that's got like a small bit part in those, I go, oh, look out for him and stuff. And a bit like the Avengers, like there's like certain Avengers episodes I can sort of take or leave. But then sort of when I go back to them, I think it's The Bird That Knew Too Much.
Yeah.
Where it's literally got the character called Mr. Twitter, which obviously is very sort of, and it turns out the guy who's Mr. Twitter was the Dr. Hawken in War Games. You think, oh, I didn't realise that. And like, you sort of go back and you sort of watch it afresh from that point of view. Or you see sort of other things and you go, oh yeah, it's him. But yeah. Classic example, actually. We were watching A Midsummer Murders the other night, and it had Freddie Jones in it, and Angelique was very sort of taken with Freddie Jones's character. It was like, oh, that's a really good character. He's playing that very well. And then we watched the Avengers episode, Who's Who, I think it is, where they got the brain swap thing. And then she watched that, and it's like, oh my God, that's him. And ditto, we watched A Midsummer Murders with William Gaunt in. And William Gaunt in this episode of Midsummer Murders is, middle-aged, sort of 60s 70s William Gaunt. And I said, do you realise it's that guy from the Champions? And I literally had to sort of pull up a picture of him. And he goes, oh, wow. So it can sort of make you go back and have another look at things in a new light, I'd say.
Just do 2 or 3 more. Would you rather sleep every night in a room with someone who snores or in a room with a fly buzzing around?
Oh, I'd probably say fly.
Annoying.
Because that's probably due to my love of Southeast Asia, where I've slept in various places. Snoring is one of those weird things. We could spend a long time talking about it. I mean, first of all, I'd say earplugs are great, but I'd probably say with a fly, yeah, because like at least if there's a fly buzzing around, I could pretend I was in Bali or Singapore or Malaysia or what have you.
I have some sympathy for snorers, because I used to be one, and I don't think I am now because I have a CPAP, but it would also make me think, well, when I did snore, it was probably because I needed a CPAP a lot earlier than I had one, because I snored when I was a lot slimmer as well, so probably always been a bit borderline sleep apnea. So it's not always. I wonder how many other people who snore might also, how much it is. Are there people who just snore and they don't actually have, or I don't quite know the background into how, when is snoring just snoring and when is it actually maybe something a bit more concerning. But flies, especially when you can't see them and it's dark and you can hear it's concerning in its own way.
As I said, that would probably, as it were, sounding a bit Avengers, like it would remind me of being in the tropics.
What about, would you rather only be able to go out when it's light outside or only when it's dark outside?
That's an easy one. When it's light outside, going back to our collective London decadence when we were both in our 20s, I was very much a night owl and falling out of clubs at God knows what time in the morning. These days, if I'm at home or in the Lake, I mean, this is such an old man thing. In the Lake District, it's vital that I get up and I'm around when it's early, because if you've got to sort of go somewhere to start a walk, the parking is so rare and so difficult to get that there's been times that and this sounds like sacrilege, I now stay in guest houses, and obviously one of the great things about staying in guest houses is you get the full English breakfast, but there's been times recently I've said to them, I'm going to skip the breakfast because I need to be out. So there's been times in the last few years that I've been out the door like 6:30 in the morning to park up at somewhere down in Borrowdale or wherever, in order to sort of, get the walking done. And the good thing with that is that you start the walking early and you finish the walking early as well. So, yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I think I would rather be out when it's light, because I remember, 10 years or more ago, that I dated somebody who was a bit younger than me. I was in my 30s. They were a bit younger than me, and they'd perhaps just finished university, but they were still living a bit of a student life, even though they now had a proper job and everything. But they tended to, at weekends, go to bed at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and then wake up, and it would almost be getting dark again because it was in the winter. And I definitely started to experience sort of, when I can't sleep for hours and hours anyway. I mean,
sure,
I can sleep like 6 or 8 hours. I don't find that I can sleep for like 10, 12 hours. And I just found it very boring waiting around for them to wake up. But I also began to sort of think, when I'm going to work during the week, it's almost dark as I arrive, and as I leave, it's dark, and I don't really go out at lunch break. And then at weekends, when I could be going out, I'm with somebody who doesn't even get up till nearly 4 o'clock, and you get out. So I'm beginning to get sort of seasonal disaffection order, or it's
sure.
So I think, I think if I was only seeing the dark, then I would, that would begin to affect me. Now, this is the last one. Then we'll have to go back to whatever else is going on. Would you rather be famous now and forgotten when you die, or unknown now and famous after your death?
Well, fame is an interesting thing. I think talking to a lot of creative people and stuff, which I do because a lot of my friends are creative in various aspects. I will touch upon the thing. I had a bit of a deep conversation with a friend of mine recently about recognition and ego and stuff. I think I put the kibosh on my sort of fame when I turned 30, because when I turned 30, I bought my first house and I bought my first filing cabinet, and like it kind of put an end to my dreams, as it were. In that sense, like I'd been playing in band, and even then I was playing in bands, but literally I was in a situation where I was in a band that was based in London, and I was having to do this ridiculous commute, and it kind of just said to me, no, that's it. I'd rather have a roof over my head and, food on the table. And so in terms of fame, if I do something with, let's say, for the stuff I upload to my SoundCloud, which I think I look at it, some people look at, it'd very much be a thing after I'm gone. If someone picks it up and said, oh, wow, this guy did this stuff. So it'd be much more sort of famous after I've gone. I'm more in terms of just living a life at peace with myself, and not sort of, dare I say it, wanting acceptance from people and kind of thinking, oh, please like me. I mean, that sounds a bit sort of like daddy love me, or if, we could go down that route and stuff. So it doesn't really bother me in the slightest. The creative things I do these days are purely for my own amusement.
And even having been in bands, you must have got people who, if you were playing locally, who'd go, oh, and you're in that band. So you'd get little tiny bits of fame, wouldn't you? And I've occasionally bumped into people who go, oh, I'm used to that Yeti guy, and they couldn't even remember what my real name was. So you sometimes do get tiny little bits along the way that are kind of nice. But I imagine if it was like that, but every day you went. I mean, even the YouTube channels I follow, the Endless Adventure, because they've been doing a lot more travels around America. They're starting to, they kind of go, oh, we bumped into somebody who watches our videos. And even that I begin to find a bit too much, that you're being noticed all the time, although they seem to be nice meetings. It's sort of...
Well, the problem with all that stuff these days, and I'm speaking generally, is that sometimes there's like a YouTube travel channel that we used to follow quite a lot, and we used to enjoy their films because they'd be traveling and doing things. And I would sort of message them saying, oh, that's really great and stuff. And it would give them, for want of a better word, a bit of fame. Wait for it. They then say, oh, by the way, any chance you can chuck us some money? It's like, oh, don't do that. You're spoiling it now and stuff. Yeah. I mean, I do contribute to a number of Patreons and stuff, but that's on my own terms. I like it when I'm doing Patreons that the people I'm following because I really enjoy their content, and it's a way of sort of furthering that. But I don't like it when you follow something on a podcast or YouTube and you say, oh, that's great, and then they basically get a bit pushy with you and say, right, give me some money then. It's like, well, no, piss off. No, why should I? It's like, like when I've been to see bands playing gigs and I've been polite to I'll be at the bar and one member of the band comes up to the bar and says, oh yeah, nice one. Can I get you a drink? This, that, and the other. Yeah. And then they start giving me this spiel about how amazing they are. And I'm like, whoa, no, hold on. You're not that great, love. You're not that great. I mean, to be honest, I do stuff which is on a par of what you do, but I don't bang on about it. Definitely.
Yeah, I definitely get that, because that's a bit like how I felt with that friend of mine I was telling you about in something else we've recorded, which may or may not have gone out at this stage. But yeah, talking to somebody who you think of as being maybe quite an equal, and then clearly talking to you like they think they're somehow better than you, and you think we're on completely different paths. How can you can't really compare the two?
It's an interesting one, because without getting too sort of deep about this thing, obviously by our nature, everybody has an ego, and like everyone wants the ego to be sort of like massaged and satisfied. But then sometimes people sort of get this sort of inflated sense of worth, and it's like, oh, how do you sort of like deal with that? And like people can get a bit carried away with themselves, let's put it that way.
Oh dear, Paul, what an awful day you've had. It does feel pretty awful, Cromitty. I mean, I'm sure it all seems like first world problems and all that sort of thing. But when you've already got aches and pains and there are no proper seats at the bus stop, bus stops are not made for you to sit there for like 45 minutes in the rain and the cold, and it's it makes everything else worse. And then you've left plenty of time, and you start to get anxious, and then it's one thing after another. It's like a farce. It is, Paul, yes. Gosh, the whole business, like when you arrived at the hospital and you didn't even know where you were. That's just another thing. I know. Yeah. I know that hospital really well. Well, as I said to the guy at the clinic, I know where I know in that hospital very well. Yes, you've been there many times. Yeah, I've been going to that CPAP clinic for, 5-6 years, and the same with the lymphedema clinic. And there was a point when my legs were bad. I had a 3-weekly intensive bandaging thing where I went every day for like 3 weeks. But because that was very early, I had to take a super early train, which wasn't too busy, and stopped at Wimbledon, and the buses weren't that busy, and dear, Paul. It doesn't help that those stupid trains don't stop at all the stations early in the morning, but they do the rest of the day. I know. It's never made sense to me. I mean, it's all priority for people who are shooting into central London, and no thought for people who might be needing to stop at Wimbledon or Clapham Junction. It is absolutely moronic. It is, Paul, absolutely. And get on at the station, you have a seat, then you have to get off at Surbiton and then get on a train, which is now packed, and then you have to stand up, although that didn't happen to me today. One of the better things that did or did not happen. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, ridiculous. The whole thing of where all the toilets were closed, and then, they're guiding you to other toilets that are also closed. I mean, no, joined up thinking. So they close them over here, and then somebody else is. I mean, you didn't wet yourself, though. No, Comedy, I didn't wet myself. I think that's the one good thing about having some of the issues that I have, is that I tend to retain water, if you really want to know. I'm sorry, Paul, I should not have asked. No, well, so, I'm disappointed about not going to Richmond. But by the time all that had happened, and in this weather, just needed to get home, really. And that bus, the journey back from the hospital, so slow, the traffic so slow. I mean, why were there people in cars? What were they doing in cars at that time of the day? Surely they should have been at work by that point. I can understand being caught in rush hour on the way out, but coming back at whatever time it was, 12 o'clock or whatever it was, why are there so many people on the road then? It doesn't make sense. Oh, Paul, calm down now. I'm trying to calm down. I mean, I've got to go back to that hospital for an appointment in August, although I don't know what time of day, because that could make a difference. I was thinking, yes, that would be all right. I could go for my little trip to Richmond then, but if it's an afternoon appointment, then I won't. And also, when I have my legs measured for my compression stockings, it's quite tiring, all sort of doing that. So maybe I will, maybe I won't. Oh dear, Paul. You could go to Richmond another time. I know, but I'm just trying to turn these hospital appointments into something more than just spending the money to go to the hospital. I don't go out much, so if I'm going to go out for a reason, then I'll try and turn it into something nice, like you did when you went to Ashford, like I did when I went to Ashford. I mean, that was a lot more successful, ultimately. I got to go to HMV. I got to have a McDonald's. As I was saying to the listeners earlier, the walk back was definitely a bit trying because there were no seats along this long, long path from the town to the station. No joined-up thinking. They probably can't afford to put benches, or they think, well, no one's going to want to stop. But there's a difference between, it's not a beauty spot, and actually you need to rest because, your aches and pains. Oh, dear Paul. If you were Prime Minister, you'd make it happen. I would not want to be Prime Minister. No, Paul, it's fine. You won't be. Good. Yeah, I mean, no sense at all. There probably were seats on that path, but some youths set them on fire. Oh, Paul, you mustn't stereotype the youths as being vandalous. It's difficult not to. People were doing it in our day. People our age were doing it, so why wouldn't they be doing it now? There are still as many stupid people now as there were when we were younger. I hesitate to say probably more. I don't know that for a fact, but I'm pretty sure that there are still thugs and nasty idiots out there now, just as many as there were when we were younger. Oh dear, Paul. Let it out. I am trying to let it out. The poor listeners that have turned off. No, Paul, I'm sure they understand. They have probably been through similar things. It's frustrating. I know it's frustrating. I wanted it to be a nice day. Well, You did manage to do a few nice things. I did. I got that nice posh cereal, and I had nice sandwiches from Marks and Spencer's, but I had to sit and eat them in the freezing cold. Yes, Paul. Oh, gosh. But they were still tasty. I got to have a coffee, a posh coffee, even though it wasn't the nicest blend ever. And I mucked up Wordle. You mucked up Wordle, Paul? What, for yourself? No, when I was doing it with my mum. I think my brain was so cold. You know how I do Wordle with my mum? Yes, I do. You know how, like, she suggests words and I tell her whether she's right or what letters are right? Yes. Well, there was an S in one of the words that she suggested, and there was an S in the final word, the real winning Wordle word. And you forgot to tell her. Well, there were a few other letters. She was beginning to get there slowly, but she kept having them in the wrong place. And I told her that, oh, no, it's not there. It's that. You've got that. And I totally forgot to tell her she had the S in the wrong place. Then she wouldn't have known. And I didn't do that well myself. I'm sure she will understand, Paul. I'm sure she will. I mean, at least I didn't get told off when I got to the clinic. No, Paul. No. The man at reception was, well, he didn't say a lot, but he was quite nice. And the man I saw, the actual guy who did my appointment, was extremely nice. I didn't seem to mind that I was only 5 minutes late. Well, that's not too bad, is it, Paul? What makes me cross is that they don't give you a number. Why don't they give you a number where you could call them and say, I'm running 5 minutes late. I'm stuck on a bus. There's no way of doing that. No way of doing it quickly. Why can't you text them or email them or what, It makes no sense whatsoever. If you were running late for a doctor's appointment, you could at least ring your doctor and say, I'm sorry, I'm stuck in traffic. I will be 5 minutes late. You might have to wait a few minutes if there's other people on the line, but you can get through to them relatively quickly, but not with these clinics. I mean, oh dear. Oh dear, Paul. Well, at least the listeners got to listen to some nice other recordings, things that I pre-recorded with some guests. So hopefully, listeners, I probably spoiled it for you by moaning in between it. There's lots of nice guests with moaning in between. That's what this episode has been about. It has, Paul. But I'm sure the listeners have enjoyed it. I hope so. I hope you have, listeners. Things usually go well, when you record things, you're recording them because they went well. But, still, it can't be helped. It can't be helped, Paul. No, it can't be helped. No. But I think it's time to say goodbye, listeners. I'm back in my flat. I'm curled up in bed. Yes, I'm here too. Yeah, well, this room, you're only small. I'm only small, Paul. Yes, you're only small. And I'm going to have a nap. Oh, this is quite unexpected. It is, but I think I definitely need it. Okay, right. Well, listeners, we've got plenty of episodes in the can. There'll be more coming soon. You take care. And I'm sorry I've been such a moody old bear today. All right, you take care. Goodbye. Say goodbye, Cromitty. Goodbye, Cromitty. Goodbye. Ugh. Goodbye. Paul, I hear you wet yourself at the hospital. I did not wet myself at the hospital. Oh, that's what I heard. No, there were no loos at the hospital. They were all closed. Well, I saw one women's toilet open, and I wasn't going in there. No, Paul, that would have caused problems. I think that definitely would have been, problematic. Yes, I think it would have been quite understandably if great big old Yeti goes marching into a ladies' toilet. No, but I didn't. No, I was fine. You held it all in then. I held it all in. Yes, I did. Thank you very much. Oh dear, I'm sorry about that. It's amazing how gossiping things get spread, isn't it? Yes, it is. Yeah, Cromarty was telling me, you see, and I just made assumptions and I got it all wrong. Yeah. Yes, well, I did get a little bit wet, but not because of that. I mean, it had been sort of raining out there, but not heavily, but just damp rain, and all of the seats were wet, and I had to sort of I couldn't really not sit down, so I had to sort of wipe the rain off as much as possible, so I could sit on at least the edge of the chairs at different bus stops and railway stations and whatever. Nothing seems to be undercover. Oh dear. So you did get a wet bum then? Yes, I did. But not the way that you were inferring. Not that there's anything wrong about it, Paul. If you did, you would have been a victim of circumstance. I would. I really don't want to talk about this, Yeti Uncle John. You're just trying to wind me up now. I've been wound up enough, as it was. Oh dear, Paul. I'm only trying to be nice. I'm only trying to show some concern. Yeah, well, that's very much appreciated, but I've got to call my mum and apologise for mucking up the Wordle. I can hear the theme music coming, so we better go. Yes. Well, I'm very sorry that your trousers got wet. Thank you. Yes. Oh dear.
I gotta go now. Bye. I want to go with you. Gotta go. Bye.
Goodbye.
It's been good, but yeah, definitely time to come home now.
Wow. Really? No kidding.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
This show is part of the Pride 48 network. Find more shows over at pride48.com.
What's going on now? Oh, it's the Shy Life podcast. Let's go.
I have a voice. I have a voice.
You have a voice.
You have a voice. We have a voice.
We have a voice.
Unique voices in podcasting.
UnivazPods.net.
So, Paul, how was your mum? Oh, she was okay. Did she forgive you for messing up the Wordle? Yeah, I think so. Oh, that's some good news, actually. I'm supposed to be seeing them again in a week or so's time. It won't be like next episode, or it might not even be the episode after that, but it'll be in the next few episodes. I'm supposed to be going back. What are you suggesting? What are you saying? Well, I'm saying that I'm thinking of doing another diary episode, a bit like this one, but I'm hoping it'll be more positive. Because I'm going to go back to Salisbury for like a week or 10 days. And, I haven't done one of these for a while where I sort of talk to different people. And I know I'll probably be seeing Paul H., Paul from school, and Nick. And Nick's also got a party. We might even be recording a Chatterbox episode around that time as well. Plus, I usually record with other people, and who knows who I might bump into. Oh, right, that sounds good. So, what I was going to say is, Yeti Uncle John got to pay a visit last year. Yes. Well, I was wondering if you might like to come along, Cromarty. Meet my parents. I mean, I know you've met them before, perhaps once or twice, but Yes, but would come and stay with them? Yeah, like Yeti Uncle John did. I feel bad that you haven't been invited, and why not come along and you can you can come to Nick's party and maybe other things whilst I'm away. I don't know. Well, I'd love that, Paul. Let me know the date so I can make sure I'm not working at the supermarket. Yeah, I've got the dates written down somewhere. It's about, a week or 10 days, something like that. Oh, that's good. I'm expecting to have, some time off. What about your experiments? But some of them I can take with me. I can actually do them at your parents'. Now, you're not going to blow my parents' house up, are you, by mistake? I would never do that, Paul, no. Well, sounds like a good idea then. It would be nice to have you there. Yeah. I'm keen to meet the unfriendly cats. The unfriendly cats. Yes, they're still pretty unfriendly. They never say anything to me. Well, very little. I mean, sometimes I think I'm making headway and they're being more friendly, and then I realise that they're not. Oh dear. I know. What's this? What's going on? Oh, nothing. I thought I heard you talking about going back down to Salisbury to see your parents. Oh, yes, I'm going with him. Going for a visit. I thought comedy could do with a little break. Oh, yeah, marvellous. When is it? I'll get my stuff packed. Yeti Uncle John, I mean, this was supposed to be just comedy. Oh, what? So I'm not invited? I mean, Pat and Michael were very disappointed. Pat and Michael, look, I'm sure you could come along if you want. After all, there are 3 spare bedrooms. Well, that's marvellous. You don't mind if I have to double, do you, Cromitty? I don't know, whatever. Well, Yeti Uncle John's probably a bit big for the single room. I think you'd fit, Cromitty, in the single room. Oh, right, yes. So Yeti Uncle John's coming now too. He is, if that's okay, even though strictly speaking he wasn't invited. Oh, Zero, dear. I know you're teasing. I'm looking forward to it, Paul. Let me know. I work my own hours, so, yeah, it wouldn't be a problem. Good. Well, listeners, it's nearly time to go. So, yes, we'll be doing this diary episode, next time I go down to Salisbury. As I say, it won't be next episode or maybe not even the episode after, but, yeah, soon. You'll see what happens. Oh, gosh. I'm sure it'll be great fun, Paul. I'm sure it will be. I'll just call back my mum and let her know that there'll be 3 of us coming down next time. Oh, well, I will help. I'm happy to do washing up or even cook a meal or do anything. Housework? Yeah, they might get you doing some gardening. They did with me last time. Yeah, it was a little bit problematic, as they say. Yes, well, okay. Well, you're supposed to be getting a bit of a rest, Cromitty, so we'll see what happens. Okay, Paul. All right, we have to go now. Yes, we have to go. All right. Goodbye, listeners. Oh, this is marvellous. I'm most pleased. Yes, it's Uncle John's return. Oh, yes, marvellous. Absolutely marvellous, yes. Oh, dear.
Oh, kitty, Dee. Purr, kitty. Oh, I love Dee.
What the hell just happened on this show? I mean, seriously, reverse it, because I lost... What's going on? What happened?
Man, was that worth it or not? Oh, my goodness, that was a darling little shoe. Whoa, I love that one. Great show, Paul. Yep, that was a good shoe.
Before we go, I've got Two very quick things. I have, talking about cooking, I have presented. I have some wonderful food on the table here, and I just want to see which of these dishes you would prefer. So one is breakfast dishes, one is like an evening meal. So out of saffron risotto with shrimp, or something else. I can offer you that. I can offer you asparagus salad. I can offer you black bean stew. I can offer you egg, bacon, avocado, and tomato sandwich, or fried tofu and vegetables. Which, if you had to make a decision, what would you choose from that?
That's easy. I'd go for the shrimp one. Yeah, so I've just had to move around a bit because, again, this is not a euphemism. I've just been juggling my roast potatoes.
Yes.
I don't like eggs, so that makes that easy. One good thing about traveling is that you get to, as you'd appreciate as well from your traveling, is you get to appreciate lots of sort of different cultures and tastes and things. And one thing that I had, sounds very decadent, on a flight back from Singapore a few years ago, I had lobster thermidor, which I love. So, like, I love shrimp, love prawns. When I was in San Francisco, I had the clam chowder, which was great.
Yeah. So you're on a plane, you're flying somewhere, and I come along with my trolley, and we have these things on the trolley for your breakfast. Which would you like? I think I know what the answer will be, listeners. You can have pancakes with maple and vanilla. You can have breakfast quesadillas. You can have some peaches. You can have a kiwi and apple smoothie, or you can have classic bacon and eggs. Which would you like, sir?
This might surprise you. I'd go for the smoothie because I'm of that age that I sort of box clever when it comes to flying. If I fly long haul, I might have a few drinkies and have some food. But when it comes to breakfast, I think I need something to sort of, counteract the decadence, shall we say?
Yeah. Well, that's fine. That's what you'll have, sir. Anyway, that's all for this time. Thank you very much. That's great. Thank you. Let's see if I can stop recording.
Well, gotta tell you, I didn't expect that. This is just the weirdest thing I've ever heard.